Thanks for joining us on the Activate and Illuminate podcast with Mel. I'm your host, Mel, and together we are going to be hearing some stories of ordinary people doing a little bit of extraordinary things. Now, whether they've pushed their bodies to extremes, whether they've had personal challenges that they've overcome, you're going to want to hear their stories. So I will say, stay tuned to the end. That's where we ask some of the juiciest questions. And I would also invite you to like, share, and subscribe to anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. I would also invite you to join up for our newsletter on activateandilluminate.com. Thanks for listening, guys. I had the absolute honor of speaking with Quentin Fast, a young man from British Columbia. Now, he has made it his mission and his passion to share about something called the 13 moon calendar. You may know it as the Mayan calendar, and how it relates to connecting us to nature and to ourselves. Now, he has studied with Tibetan monks. He has explored so many concepts that might just be completely out there for you. And I'm sure some of them will. But I'm sure some of you will out there will be going, oh my goodness, this is my jam, and this kind of content is what I'm looking for. So you guys, have a listen to Quentin's. He has so much wisdom in his early 20s, believe it or not, that when I met him, he's just this wizened little monk that I felt like I had to just learn everything he knew. And maybe you'll feel the same way. And we get into some pretty exciting bonus content at the end that you'll be able to see on our platform as well. So have a listen to Quentin, and we'll let you take it from there. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, you have the honor of listening to Quentin Fast from British Columbia. Now, Quentin and I became connected, and I'm telling you, I have never met anybody that I felt had more intrinsic wisdom than this man. And I had heard him speak in the capacity as a speaker about the Mayan calendar and how it can relate in our life, and this 13 moon calendar that he talks about. And I heard him talk about concepts that I had never heard before. I heard him talk about ways to use this calendar that excited me, that made it seem like maybe it was a tool that a lot of us, had never heard about before. So we're going to get into some mystical, some magical, some concepts that might be new for you as well. So I know they sure were for me. So welcome, Quentin.
Thank you, Melanie. It's so great to be here, and I'm honored to be on your podcast and get to have my first ever podcast experience. So this is going to be fun.
Well, it is an honor to have you here, Quentin. So you've been sharing on this 13 moon calendar. Tell us about it. Tell us why you feel so passionate about it, and just get into it with us because it's so exciting.
Yeah, I'd love to. So the 13 moon calendar is something that I am, like you said, very passionate about, and it's kind of my main purpose in life. I think recently I heard someone say that there's a lot of things that are kind of troubled in this world, and a lot of things that need fixing. So just choose something and stick with it to help humanity and help the planet. And the calendar is my little area of expertise, and I think it's really important because it's something that affects everyone, because throughout the world, everyone uses a calendar in one form or another. And we've gotten to a point in our civilization where most of the world uses the Gregorian calendar. And it's something that is just kind of accepted as normal. Like, everyone's born into it and they don't really question it. They just say, okay, this is what it is. We're going to roll with it. But there's a lot of things about the Gregorian calendar that when you really take the moment to think about and contemplate, it doesn't make the most of sense. Like, for example, the names of all the months. One small example is like in around September, the names of the month represent numbers. So sept means 7, oct, like an octagon for October means 8, novembre is like 9, and then dec, like December, like the dodecagon is like a 10-sided shape, I believe. And so it's like those are offset by 2, with October being the 10th month, November 11th, December 12th. So that's a pretty strong example of just a bit of the disharmony within it. And basically, the Gregorian calendar, it's got 12 months, and that's like a deliberate chopping off of the 13th, like they do with the 13th floor on some elevators, and the superstitious Friday the 13th. So that's a very powerful number that can really help us to reorient our minds toward a more natural view of things with that number 13. And for example, like our 13 main joints with our ankles, knees, hips, 2 wrists, 2 elbows, and then 2 shoulders. That's 6 pairs of yeah, 6 pairs of joints, which is 12. And then the 13th is like the spine or the neck. So we really embody this number, and that represents to the 13 months as well, because like we live time through our bodies. But yeah, the 13th month was just chopped up and added onto the end of different months that are all uneven length, like 31 days, 30 days. So that basically means that you can't have any sense of regularity with the days of the week being on the days of the month. So for example, the 27th day of the month will always be a different day of the week on the Gregorian. So it really scrambles the mind, and doesn't work well with memory. Like at this point, I feel like they're just tossing holidays left, right, and center, and you don't even know when Mother's Day is coming up, or Father's Day, that sort of thing. It's like, oh, it's different this year than it was last year. That's because of a point I'm going to get to, which is pretty basic way to articulate your view of the Gregorian calendar and time, is basically that we experience time, which is a very interesting thing, the period of rotation, as scientists would call it, nothing more. It's just the spin rate of our planet, particularly in this case. And the analogy metaphor is that time is experienced through the mind in the same way that space is experienced through the body. So with our bodies, we move through space and we go places, travel, we pick up things. And in the same way, our minds, with our thoughts and our subtle perceptions, we move through space. Pardon me. We move through time with our minds, so that we can think of the future, we can think of the past, or you can think in the present, be there with your mind, which is always where the power is at. And that's another thing about this calendar, is that it really is all about anchoring you into the present. And that is another great benefit of the 13 moon calendar. So the idea is that when you are building something, like we're going back to the space and time, some call it the third and fourth dimension. So time is like a little bit higher, a little bit more invisible, a little more subtle, harder to sense. It's kind of like something that you can't quite grab, like an apple. You can chew on it in a different kind of way. But so the tape measurer is a tool that people use to build things, especially in woodwork. That's kind of the field of art that I was born into in my family. So I'm familiar with how to use a tape measurer. I'm not saying I'm great at it by any means, but I know that the inches all have to be the same. Because if all the inches were different lengths, then whatever you build is going to be crooked and wobbly. So it's the exact same idea with the calendar. If you use a Gregorian calendar where all the months are different lengths of time, then whatever your mind is not going to be in harmony. It's going to be like music that's out of tune. Like these days, we're just used to hearing perfect music. Rarely do you put on a CD and you hear like guys missing the notes and, guitars out of tune and stuff like that. I mean, there's another little rabbit hole with the 440 hertz versus the 432 hertz. I won't get into that, but it's like basically this 13 moon calendar is a very good solution to bringing peace and culture and art to the world because it is a whole world system. It's for everyone, and currently it is being used worldwide. It's very popular in places like Japan and China and Russia and Europe, and especially South America, Chile and Argentina and Australia, and of course the heart of it, the Mayan lands of Central America. So that's good to know about this calendar, that when you are using it, it's not just yourself. It is a worldwide phenomenon that a lot of people have realized to be a much better solution than the time we're currently keeping. So this calendar is like, the motto is like time is art, whereas in the old mechanized Gregorian calendar, it's time is money. And it's just faster, amalgamate with the machine, sell your life and just make more money, work faster. And in this calendar, the idea is that time is art. So energy factored by time is art. That's like a Einsteinian equation that is kind of the replacement for MC squared. So that is a little introduction to the 13 moon calendar, just kind of spewing it all out there, blah, laying the cards on the table. So what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so when I first experienced, now I had heard this concept of the Mayan calendar connecting us more to nature. And when I hear you talking about this, this is what I'm hearing, is that our nature and our perception of nature has almost been shifted by our observance of these, we'll call them adulterated days, right? Like, this observance of the wrong time and the wrong. So, even just you talking about, October and November and December and then being the wrong numbers attached to the month, you start to think, oh, wow, like it's almost like everything has shifted to upset our reality a little bit, not quite untrue, but not quite true. And so it fascinates me because now when I heard you talk about this calendar and you went into, you were a speaker at this event that I was at where you were actually going into, specific things on, how these days are measured in these different segments of days and different observances of time that we can all use as a tool. And I didn't quite understand the personal application of it, to be honest with you, until you and I had a moment where you gave me a personal reading or a personal what my numbers meant and what my time of birth meant and how it attributed to my personality and just the different days that I should be doing specific things. And when you tuned it into what was meant for me personally, I started to understand it a lot more. And to be honest with you, I mean, I still don't know, exactly all these observances and stuff. But when you told me my personal meaning and just some of the different things that you had said in that, we'll call it a reading, it it fascinated me because it's like a whole nother system that we could tap into were we given the knowledge and have extra tools to just support us on our day a little bit differently. So maybe take us into some of that, like from a personal reading perspective, what that actually means to observe it in that way.
This episode brought to you by bizbloomer.com. BizBloomer.com is your friend to small and local businesses, a platform and directory that provides exposure and support to small ma-and-pa type stores or local entrepreneurs, helping them make an impact in their own local communities. BizBloomer.com is taking the corporate out of business and helping small businesses become relevant and essential again. Businesses can get started for free. Search for BizBloomer businesses in your area. Check them out today. BizBloomer.com. That's BIZ Bloomer.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great direction to take with the calendar is not something that you just kind of poke at with a stick and look at from a distance, but it's something that you can decipher and decode for yourself where you fit in to time. It's a lot of it has to do with synchronicity. It's like it kind of starts giving you messages once you learn how to read the calendar, which is very simple, by the way. It's not as complicated as astrology, even though it may appear to be behind me if you're viewing this as opposed to listening. But yeah, the idea is that there's different qualities for each day and different qualities for each week and different qualities for each month and different qualities for each year. And that all plays into shape the weather. It's a more of a subtle weather, but it does trickle down into our reality in such a way that is very easy to notice. And when you find that, it's just a little confirmation. It's just a little, mini mind blowing, like the wind comes through and blows your mind. What the best thing to do is to find your birth date, and you'll get within the 13 moon calendar a week, which will be one of 4 weeks in a month, corresponding to one of the 4 main colors that's used. And so there's the red color, which starts this 4-part process of creation and fulfillment by the time you reach the 4th. But the first part is initiation, and it's red, and it's all about fresh starts, new beginnings. And for example, this week, like this day that we are recording this in this moment, is in the red week. So we have those qualities of initiating new beginnings, birthing. And I was born in a red week. So it's like my week. So I feel like whatever I initiate and start is like very significant for me in this time. And then you get to the white week, and it's about taking what's been initiated and refining it, making it better. It's like airplane fuel, like going from a low octane gas to a high octane gas kind of thing. And then, so people born in the white week, the second week of the month, will have those kinds of qualities to go along. And then by the time you get to the third week, it's the blue color, and it has to do with the qualities of transformation and like kind of like catalyzing an alchemy, like totally transforming the structure, like lead into gold kind of thing. So that by the time you get to the 4th week, it's the yellow week, and that color has to do with ripening and fruitfulness and harvest and abundance and fulfillment. And that is, for anyone born in that week, they're very, very, extravagantly beautiful and just out there fulfilling the world. And so that's like one of the most basic things to understand about the calendar is the red, white, blue, and yellow 4-day pattern. And another one is the chakras. So there's a lot of different traditions and cultural systems that fit in with the calendar, and every day has a different chakra. And depending on which day a person is born, they'll have a very strong connection to that chakra. So, for example, today is a throat chakra day. So it's a really good day for expressing yourself, speaking your truth, and things like singing and vibration in general. And you can read any old yogi kind of Indian Hindu book that has chakras, and all the qualities within that book will be accurate for whatever day of the week it may be, whatever day of the week you're born. for yourself. And you can always look into the past at any day in the past and think, oh, what was the chakra for that day of the week? And maybe you'll find out why certain things happened the way they did on past days, or if you have an event in the future, you can look at the calendar and think, what's the qualities for that day? What can I expect? And you might find out that it's a heart chakra day, so it might just be the perfect day for some love and service and compassion. Or if it's a root chakra day and you want to get really grounded and go for a hike in nature, or something that really brings you into the physical, like spending some quality time with family and your tribe, your community, that can be really grounding. And so that's a little basics of how you can start to find your own unique spot in time and start to live it and embody it. So it's an archetypal kind of realm where everything is like magic and synchronicity, and it really starts to activate a morphic resonance field amongst humanity, because when everyone is tuned into it, then it creates this atmosphere of the mutual agreement where everyone kind of understands, okay, this is where we're at. And it's like the 100th monkey effect. Things just start happening, and we're like a flock of birds or a school of fish that's just all traveling together. And it does not, doesn't dampen, it doesn't put down uniqueness and individuality, because there's so many ways to use this calendar. And yes, it has its structure, but from there it can be taken to any point and degree. And it's like going out of the a little bit around the question that you asked about how people can personally apply it and find out about their unique selves, is that it's not just the chakras. Like, and I know that that's something that not a lot of people, or there's a lot of people that won't resonate with. They'll say like, oh, that's wacky doodle, screw that. But there's like, obviously there's the good argument that it's scientific with our glands, 7 main glands, the pineal, pituitary, adrenals, all that, thalamus, thyroid, and the other ones I'm missing. But there's other systems. For example, anyone who's familiar with the I Ching, I know our brother Michael, who introduced us, he's spent a lifetime studying the I Ching. And so when I taught him the calendar, he's like, so this system I've been using my whole life basically fits in with this calendar. And I'm like, yeah. So now they are able to actually apply what they've been learning to this calendar, and the synchronicities are amazing because it's always on point with what's happening in the world, and your daily life. And I've given like definitely over 100, maybe 200 or more, however many people I've given readings to. I've just shared information to them about their selves based on their date of birth when they took the first breath. And I can only remember 2 or 3 times where someone's like been like, oh, weird. Like, that doesn't sound right. Because it's like 99% of the time it's like spot on, and people are like, their jaws are almost hitting the floor sometimes. They're like, how do you know that? Like, that's exactly what I do. And that's using the tools that I have acquired. I've been studying for a long time, 7 years now. I've just been full immersion mode, like ever since graduating school when I was 18. This was like, I just dove straight into this, and I've just been writing like a madman and studying. And so the other systems that it incorporates, not only the I Ching, but the Germanic runes. Anyone familiar with those? There's a rune for each day of the month. The Arabic alphabet is embedded perfectly into the calendar. The Hebrew alphabet, and the 22 major arcana of the tarot. So there's a tarot card for each day of the month, and based on your date of birth, you have that card for life. And you can find that out for family and friends as well. And then other systems would be the traditional Chinese medicine, very well integrated into this calendar, like the 5 elements. So that, and then of course the Jungian archetypes is a big one, and then the Mayan teachings as well, with the 13 and 20 frequency. That's so I'm naming a lot of things that people might not be familiar with, but it's just to give the idea and the point that the idea with this calendar is to bring a universal religion, or an understanding, a recollection, just to bring all the systems together, because all of these traditions like Christianity, Muslim, Buddhist, Taoist, Native American spirituality, they're all like this fingers on a hand. And the idea is that this calendar is kind of like the hand that connects them all through time. And some of this mathematical principles are universal constants of perfect harmony. And the idea is that it's not quite numerology, but I'd say it's deeper, because there's a lot of significance to the numbers. They are the language of the universe, we could say. Everyone knows number 1 is like unity. It's like that magnetizing energy of purpose and that undivided 1. And then 2 brings us the energy of polarity, duality, a night and day, yin and yang, hot and cold, all that pendulum swing kind of stuff. And then the energy of 3 is like this strongest 2-dimensional shape with the triangle. So it's like bonding and activating. It has qualities of service and just this electrical charge, buzzing kind of 3 energy with the Trinity. And then 4, as we all know, is like the most grounded, solid kind of number. It's very physical realm, 4 corners of your house, that sort of thing. And then 5 is a very shareable number. It's like blossoming, totally party number, just like out there, no secrets, just pure shareable social 5. And then 6 is like kind of different. It's more secluded, more contained, very stable and organic, in the sense that honey bees use the 6-sided hexagonal shape, as well as crystals, of which also getting swept away in the train of thought with the crystals, because they work great with this calendar too. Like there's a crystal you could use for different days of the week with the chakras. And that's just one example of how one can use crystals, if that's their area of expertise, to attune themselves to this timing frequency, which is it's very, I'm trying to be humble, so I'll just say it's very good for us. And or the yeah, so that's kind of a little bit of how one can decode themselves. And yeah, I'd just like to say that it's a system is very, very cooperative with. Oh yeah, I was listing the numbers. Anyway, I don't need to talk about all the numbers, because I just got to the point where 6 is good for stabilizing. It's like, if you want your honey to last, store it in a 6-sided figure. And so it's kind of opposite of 5, being kind of secretive and more contained with the 6 energy. So that's a bit about the understanding of numbers, with how they are like this language. And yeah, so based on your date of birth, you have those kinds of qualities I just listed. If you're born on a tone 4 day or a tone 4 month. So I'm just going to keep rambling a little bit here about one thing that came to mind, was that this calendar, it has different cycles of time within it. You've got, there's a 1-day cycle, which is divided into 4 parts. So that's 6 hours of each day for a different qualities of the day. So beyond that, you have the 1-day cycle. There's 4-day cycles with the 4 colors. There's 5-day cycles, which is obvious because we got 5 fingers and toes on each body extremity. So that's a 5-day cycle. And then there's 7-day cycles with the chakras. There's 8-day cycles, which are called octaves. There's 10-day half cycles, 20-day cycles. Oh, I forgot the 13, of course. 28-day cycles. And then you get into 52-day cycles, 65-day cycles, 260-day cycles, 365-day cycles. And then you get into noospheric Earth time. That's cool because that is where you kind of lift off. And that's a whole concept in and of itself, the noosphere, which is the planetary thought of the mind. So I'm just tossing a bunch of stuff out there.
Yeah. So tell me what you have observed when you see people start to integrate this into their life and start to, understand this or understand themselves. Maybe that's more the relative thing, is that by using this we start to understand ourselves more. But tell us what you have observed in people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've taken a kind of hands-off approach for the last couple of years, in the sense that I haven't been like actively making a website and just like pushing out content, and I haven't been like super charge forward with trying to push the message and have classes and events. I've just kind of been living it as much as of myself as I can, live it to the fullest, and then sharing it when I can with who I can. And in that way, I just let the calendar kind of do what it wants to and go whichever way it wants to. But what I have observed is that when someone encounters the calendar, there is a level of fascination that I haven't seen, um, with anything else I've shared. I mean, like the sports, people are like, "Oh, cool, flip," and you can do a backflip. But when someone encounters the calendar, it's not just like watching someone do something cool. It's like actually like the entire understanding of reality changes people who start to understand it. And it's totally all about understanding of yourself. And for that, you have more compassion for yourself and more compassion for others, because you can say, oh, that's why I'm like this, because I was born on this day and I have this archetype with this tone. And I've seen that in people. I've seen that they've understood and loved themselves more because of understanding who they are, why they are the way they are. And yeah, like just so much good feedback from everyone I've shared it with, family and friends. And I've got to meet so many new people and make some really good friends over the last years because I've been able to offer this.
I was fascinated to hear how long you've been studying the Tibetan learnings, and te- just tell us how you got into that and um, your journey with that, because you know you've already shared your birth date. You're how old? 25 right now?
Almost.
Yeah. So, but you have all this worldly knowledge and intrinsic wisdom. And you've already spent years and years and years studying some of the Tibetan teachings. So tell us a little bit about that.
This episode brought to you by protandemcanada.lifevantage.com. What if you could turn on your body to work like it was supposed to? What if you could have it remember how to handle toxins, stress, and the environment like it used to when you were young? What if it worked for your pets too? What if this is not about supplementing something that is missing, but activating something that has gone dormant? About actually turning on your body to make these things again. Learn how to activate your body now. Check us out, protandemcanada.lifevantage.com.
Yeah, I'd love to. It's unique among all of the different traditions on Earth. And what makes it unique is that, for one, it's not a religion. It's basically a health program. And what sets it aside is what's called the altruistic motivation, which basically means that it's for everyone else. It's for yourself and the environment as well, but it's for everyone. So a lot of religions and and that sort of things. It's basically save yourself, heal yourself, get to heaven, find enlightenment, that sort of thing. The idea in Tibetan Buddhism is that we dedicate everything we do to everyone else, leaving no being behind. And that includes all the spirits in the spirit realms, of which in Tibetan Buddhist tradition, there's 4 different types of realms for beings. There's 2 higher ones and 2 lower ones, and then the human and the animal realm is in the middle. And so that is 6 realms of sentient beings, which is related to the 6 syllables of the Chenrezig Avalokitesvara mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. So each of those syllables is like liberating one of the 6 realms of sentient beings from their emotions, which cause them to suffer. So before,
What do you mean that? What do you mean emotions cause them to suffer?
yeah, so the 2, like starting with the Om of the mantra, it's like the heavenly celestial realm. They suffer from pride. They think they're all this and all that. And they suffer because eventually you have to get lowered and get humbled. So they suffer from falling, basically, from that heavenly state eventually. And then the next is kind of like the demigod realm, like the spirits of the war gods and goddesses, which is just terminology. It's not like saying that's what they are, just spirits. Basically, they suffer from jealousy, that emotion. So Om Ma, that second syllable brings in the qualities that liberate one from the sufferings of jealousy. And then the human realm, Om Ma Ni, that humans, we suffer from neediness. You know, we always needing, can't get enough, need more. And then the animal realm, Om Mani Pe, they suffer from ignorance, basically stupidity, bewilderment. You know, animals just don't know, and for that they suffer. So it's bringing in the qualities with the mantra to bring them to enlightenment. And then the 2 lower spirit realms, you've got the deprived spirit realms of the hungry ghosts. And I forget that quality, so I'll just jump to the lowest spirit realm, which is basically the demonic spirits in the hell realm. And they just suffer from the worst of anger and hatred. So Omani Pe Mi Hong Hong. That's like the syllable to liberate beings in that realm from their intense hatred, and they suffer from heat and cold down there. So it's bringing all these beings to a state of perfect maturity in the form of Chenrezig, with visualizing them all, as many Chenrezigs in the universe as there are beings throughout boundless space, really expanding the mind and saying the mantra. That's the idea of retraining your mind to think right, bringing your body, your speech, and your mind into alignment. And this is just kind of basic principles of the teachings, the Dharma, which I would love to talk a lot more about. But just how I got into it was I was about 15 years old when I had some health challenges with my injuries. So I was led to really start looking for some healing. And I'm like, I'll take anything I can get. You know, a Reiki attunement. Whoa, got my first crystals. Here we go. You know, all that was really exciting. And another great thing, like one day I'm looking out the backyard and I see a fellow sitting on a bench with his spine straight, just meditating. And I'm like, I gotta talk to this guy. So I went over and I was like, oh, please teach me something, anything. I'd love to learn. And he was been very helpful, and he's been a very good friend ever since, and introduced me to my Lama, who is a Tibetan teacher. La means honorable, and then Ma is like mother, so it's like honorable mother. Same thing as guru. Basically, one other idea in Tibetan Buddhist is that you take refuge. There's a lot. You take refuge in the teachings, take refuge in the pure enlightened state of mind. Buddha, which is the same as Bodhi for Bodhisattva. which is someone who strives to attain this state for the upliftment of all sentient beings. And yeah, you take refuge in the Sangha, which is the community, everyone who practices and teaches the Dharma, the deities, which are just symbols. It's like a software program that you apply to your mind. And so you take refuge in all that, and it requires dedication and devotion, because without the Lama's instructions and teachings, it's a lot harder to help yourself and to help others. So that's kind of gets to the point of the living transmission, which I know you appreciate that kind of understanding of how teachings are transmitted through embodied person who actually lives it. So I've been studying and practicing with my teacher for 10 years now. So that's one thing that he really stresses, the importance of, like, you can only teach what you practice. So he only teaches what he practices himself. And in that way, you just kind of give the whole transmission so that anyone who wants to learn it, they can just kind of flip the switch, become resonant enough to attune, just like how your tuning forks, like those tuning forks, I've only experienced them once at your house, and holy smokes, that was a powerful experience. And I know some other people in the group had other incredible insights that just added so much to that collective experience with the tuning forks. But something I've heard and observed, same with guitar strings, is that you strike one tuning fork and the others around it will start vibrating. So that's kind of the idea of the living transmission. So yeah,
So tell us. Oh, sorry,
oh no, I
Quentin.
was just gonna say that's a bit about Tibetan Buddhism in a nutshell there, and my connection.
Yeah. One of the things in speaking to you that I was fascinated about was what I felt your presence and your energy around what some of the stuff that's been happening in the world that we live in right now. And so what's your understanding of what we are going through right now and maybe what we're moving into?
Ooh, that's a big one.
Juicy.
Doozy of a topic. Yeah, the juice is just oozing out. So yeah, that I'd say we're we're on this planet, and the bigger the view, the more all encompassing kind of perspective uh gives an individual the best vantage point to view life. So yeah, there's a lot that I could say about the whole earther experience here. Basically, I'd say that in the whole galaxy, this one galaxy of many, as many galaxies in the universe as there are sand on the beach, grains. So it's like in this particular one, and they've all got their own, but there is a designated planet for the game. So that's what's going on right now, is the game, and we're playing it, and we probably don't think of it as a game here, but our what is called higher self, that's how they think of it, as a game. And in the galaxy, it's a leap of faith to play the game as an earther, a human. Other beings on this planet, there's animals, there's a lot of different other realms that I won't get into. But I would say their path is different than our particular human path. But basically, you take a leap of faith to come here, and it's an adventure. And when you do, one of the main rules is that your memory gets wiped. And that's the number one reason that a lot of beings don't take the leap of faith, because that's very scary. If you can imagine having thousands and thousands of years of memory from one lifetime to another, you can retain your memory. That's like That's like someone's livelihood right there. I don't even remember what it's like, but that's how beings in the galaxy experience life, is from one incarnation to another. They can remember everything. So when you come to Earth, it's like your memory gets wiped, and something happens that is very evolutionary and radical. And there's a lot of beings in the galaxy that are like, go humans, like you're doing it. Even from the higher dimensions of beings that have already played the game and already graduated and gone on to higher levels, they're looking down and they're like, keep going, humans, earthers, you got this. But there's a lot of other beings in the universe that are like, they think we're like the mustard stain on the shirt, because we're taking the fast track here on the planet. And my last name's Fast, so I really resonate with that fast track that we're on. And it's the fast track of evolution. And I won't get into all the details to keep it a bit of a mystery, but if you know what I'm talking about, then you're a very small percentage of people, even in the spiritual community, because it's pretty amazing and rare who we are. That's why the saying, know thyself, very important. But that's one aspect of how the game is. Oh yeah, and I was just saying, there's a lot of beings in the galaxy that are like trying to stop us because we're on this incredible fast track of evolution, and their way that they operate with their continuous memory stream from so many past lives is a slower track of evolution, because part of the deal with our memory being wiped means that we evolve at a much faster rate, and it's quite miraculous who we are. If you only knew. I can see people for who they are, and I'm like, wow. But not many people know who they are or what they are. On a different level, though, geared more toward the calendar idea, with the teachings of Jose Arguelles and his most incredible, beautiful wife, Lloydine Burris. They basically brought all this teachings and this system to the earth. Not that they created it, but they just kind of were the ones that was like, okay, this is something that needs to be shared. They discovered it. The law of time was a discovery, not an invention. And so within the whole stream of wisdom, basically what they say about the earth and where we're at is that it's the transition to noosphere. So noosphere is a term that was coined by Russian scientists V.I. Vernadsky and Nicholas Roerck. Or no, pardon me, I meant Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. So all these beings that have contributed so much with the concepts that we use today in so many different fields, one of which is the noosphere. And that's the idea that nous means mind in Greek, and then sphere is the sphere around the planet. So we have all these different spheres, from the biosphere to the atmosphere, the geosphere, all this different layers. And a recent one is the technosphere. So that's what we're using right now to communicate worldwide. You can contact anyone with a technology device anytime, and that's the technosphere. And what it is it's kind of like a sphere of the mind where everyone is connected through their minds, because we can all see what each other are doing. Well, the heart and everything. It's a complete connection around the world with the technosphere. And what we're evolving to is the noosphere. So that is the layer of the planet where everyone's connected through the mind. And it's very much related to telepathy, and it's very organic and natural. And there's basically two types of planets in the universe. There's ones with noosphere and ones without noosphere. And noosphere is much more...
Where does AI play into that?
My particular view of AI is that we have a long karma, with just a long history of it in its cycles of... Personally, I'm not... I don't like to use it, or as little as possible. I think AI is everything. Technology is just a replacement of something we already have within ourselves. And so For example, if you're dependent on a technology to do something, you're not going to develop your own qualities to do it. And so you're going to get a little bit disempowered that way. Like, for example, if somebody does something for you, like catches all your fish, and you never learn to fish, well, then how are you going to eat when you're on your own? You're just going to have to figure it out yourself eventually. Whereas if someone taught you to fish, then you could catch your fish right away and start feeding your family and other people and teaching them. And so that's the kind of the idea with AI. It's like that person that's catching all your fish for you and not really allowing you to take the time to figure things out on yourself. And then that goes into the other idea of just the return to organic balance, being grounded is, we need to do that. So that means kind of not always living in a virtual reality, stepping outside of the TV program. But anyway, the technosphere, I think it's great because it is a next stepping stone, but that is just how I see it, is a stepping stone to the noosphere, which is the planetary mind where everyone can be connected simultaneously. And that should really be a main theme for us, is to really dedicate ourselves to the upliftment of the planet, because we all need to evolve as one. And the planet needs this self-reflective, intelligent species on it in order to take it to the next level and, create beautiful paradise on Earth where everyone's happy and free. And yeah, we just need to step into that role to become planet tamers and planetary service workers.
Planet tamers. Well, it could use a little taming, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think the planet's a little angry, and I'm just gonna put this out there too, as a side point, that I don't think the planet, like, is very conscious being, and I don't think that it agrees with everyone calling it a Mother Earth just because it's androgynous, which is all spirits, all beings. There's no gender in the spirit realm. You and me, we're infinite spirits. Melanie, you're not a female. I'd say your body is, just as my body's a male, but in the spirit realm, we're both. Like, we incarnate as male, female. We constantly do one or the other.
Do you see people as their spiritual self?
Yeah, I try to, and it just happens automatically. But yeah, I see that matter, our incredible bodies, and I'm not dissing this gift we have to be a human, breathing, sleeping, eating, human. I think that's all great. And I'm so grateful to be alive. And it's beautiful the way that our spirit and this living, beating heart come together to create this unique expression, to have this experience. And yeah, I'd say, yeah, I do see people as spirits. And all spirits have the potential to be a human. Like, just because a spirit's an animal now, or even worse, if they're not incarnated, if they're just a spirit in the spirit realms, of which in Tibetan Buddhism there's 4, they all have potential to be a human. And it's a great experience.
So many things that we could go off on that topic, but tell us your excitement of the future.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, so I'm a very future-oriented, excited person. So I'm always just putting full energy into the next, latest, and greatest thing. And, like, I've talked about the calendar plenty, and I've also talked about other things that are not directly related to the stream of wisdom that has been directly brought from the people who shared the calendar. So I'm just kind of putting all different pieces together. But another thing that I'm really excited for with the future is that the Earth grid, as a lot of people have come to know the ley lines, that is something that I think is going to be very key, important to learn about in the future, because we're still in kindergarten. We don't understand all these things about the nature kingdom, and the ley lines are a big thing that are going to are going to take us to that next level. And I think with where they cross, there's like these nodes. Some call them vortexes or portals. Basically, those are places of power, our power spot. And some things about these nodes, I've learned a lot from Rory Duff. He's an individual in the UK who I would say has like the world's leading voice. He's done the most, I believe, on teaching about these ley lines. And also Dan Winter, he's got a great perspective on them. And just to kind of parrot what he says is that anything from stone circle, cathedral, labyrinth, temple, the list goes on, pyramid, anywhere that you want to have a sacred experience is basically only works at ley lines, cross points, the symmetrical nodes, and things like telepathy, remote viewing, remote distance healing, successful birth, very successful death, spirit, ancestor phone calls. Like, for example, the Native American culture and traditions basically say that if a day without talking to your ancestors is like a day wasted. Like the Australian Aboriginals, they call them songlines, dreaming tracks. So yeah, they're basically like the nervous system of the planet. And going to the sacred sites is like doing earth acupuncture, like being a needle at those acupuncture points and just bringing in a lot more goodness, love, and peace. And some things like it's measured that nuclear critical mass radioactivity is greatly reduced at these sites, and they need a lot of help and healing as well. Things like train tracks can kind of cut them, so that telepathic connection from one node to another can be cut by train tracks or other kinds of interferences. And like, oh no, go ahead.
Do you think that they are being intentionally altered?
Yeah, I think a lot of what we see that we think is just it's just the way it is, and this is just an organic evolution. I think that there's some intentional stuff been happening to dumb down humanity, kind of thing. So it's for the future, like you said. I'm really excited to find more of these sites through dowsing and other types of techniques, just locating them and just having more people come and enjoy the experience of being at a ley line cross point, a sacred site. So there's many, about one every square kilometer. So most parks have them. It's just finding out where, which is easy enough to just intuitively ask, where's the ley line cross point? And you might just be standing in it already. Usually they're located in places that are easily accessible because it is Earth intelligence, and Earth wants people to gather at these sites. So often you'll find them in parking lots, especially of your favorite restaurant or your local tea lounge will have a ley line cross point, your crystal store. And yeah, that's where the spirits come to the earth when they're born. That's where the ghosts leave. Stuck ghosts is a bit of a problem, can be around cemeteries. So guiding them to the ley line cross points is helpful. And yeah, that's a bit of my real excitement is really connecting with nature. And when you do, amazing things happen.
Quentin, I generally try to keep these episodes around an hour just because I know the logistics of podcasts, and a lot of people don't have mine for longer than an hour. But I feel like there is so much we could go into so far with your knowledge. And I'm sure the listeners would agree with me, is that in listening to you at, just about 25, you have innate wisdom of so many things that most people haven't even heard of. And when I met you, I felt like I was meeting this galactic consciousness embodied in this young man that was there to remind us of so much. And so, I love everything about you, and I just value anything that you say because I know that you are coming from such a pure intention and such a loving spot towards humanity. I know that there's so much that you've referenced and so much that you've said, but tell us a little bit about how people can connect with you. And we'll have how to connect with you in the show notes. But, you know, you referenced a little bit some of the readings that you've done. Will you do those for people? And if people want to access you in that way, is that something that they can do? And how do they access you?
Mhm. Well, thanks so much, Melanie, for saying all those nice things. My heart is just soaring right now, and I'm so happy that we got to spend this time together. And I'm always happy to come back on. If you ever want episode 2, but when it comes,
100% we do.
yeah. So when it comes to of contacting me or learning more about the work I'm involved with, some websites is from some partners would be cosmichistory.love, lawoftime.org, 13moon.com, not moons, 13moon, 13lunas.net. Those are some of the main websites that anyone can decode their birth date to find their unique archetypal signature, sign of nature. And then other than that, I'm happy to share with anyone who wants to email me at quintinjfast@gmail.com. I can answer any questions or give anyone their personal reading to know themselves a bit better and maybe understand, take a nice walk through the gate into natural time. I can help you at the gate. And then other than that, I had an Instagram account, but it got hacked. I just tried to accept some money from some guy, and then he took my email and stole my account. So that one I'm a little bit sad about still. So you can just find me on Facebook. My name. I'm just another individual out there who does all the things, texting girls till midnight. I'm just joking. That was back in the day.
You're so funny. So tell us, Quentin, is there anything else that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I think there was something. Something tapping me on the shoulder right now, thinking, "Gee, you don't forget about me."
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I just want to say that I wish everyone a very good day. May your day get better and better every time you wake up in the morning, that much more refreshed. And a quick note from our brothers, the Sasquatch, they wanted me to share that they are very much alive and well.
Oh, you know what? Let's go into a little bit of bonus content if we can, Quentin,